This podcast is sponsored by Utocop. For more details, please click on the link that is in the description below. Welcome to episode 25 of On a Personal Note with Adarsh Sakare. On episode 24, we had, I think, one of our most inspiring guests. Surashri was absolutely amazing. Her whole venture with Yearbook Canvas has blown my mind. I mean, anyway, if you haven't watched Surashri, you should definitely check her out. It's a very nice story. It's a very nice episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Today we have another very interesting person in the studio. Before I speak more about him, let's say hi to Devrath Vijay.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, Devrath? How's it going?
Very good, very good. I mean, I think everybody should know the conversation that we just had.
Yeah, I mean, we've been speaking for the last half an hour to 45 minutes, and we just realized that we both are Germanites, where he passed out in 2005
Yes.
and I passed out in 2010. So the conversation suddenly became about
School and
School.
nostalgia.
nostalgia. So that's the common point for us. But anyway, coming back to Devrath. So Devrath is known as Ninja Dev on Instagram.
Yeah.
Ninja Dev on Instagram. He's the co-founder at Sweaty Ninjas and Academy of Strength. And what is Sweaty Ninjas about? What is Academy of Strength? We'll definitely let you know. And when you go to Devrath's profile, it is one of those profiles where there's a lot of intensity, but with a lot of calmness. There's so much intensity in each of his videos, but it's in a very calm manner. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you watch it, you'll understand what I'm saying. There's a lot of tattoos on him, which I'm sure that we'll understand what these tattoos are for. And the tattoos look really good, man.
Thank you.
They
Thank
look
you.
crazy. I mean, a lot of tattoos. He's also trained Varun Dhawan at one point, which is like crazy, which is where we at least got to know about
Right.
Dev. So all this stuff put together, we have a lot of questions from our side, and Dev is here to answer them. And sit back, enjoy it, and let's get started.
Let's do it.
So Dev, the first thing I was saying, right? So lot of intensity, but with a lot of calmness, right? Even as I sit across you, there's this sense of calmness around you. How is that possible?
It's actually interesting that you chose those words because that's actually something that I say a lot.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
To my clients as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Get this a little closer. Yeah.
Basically, whatever you're doing, especially, I mean, of course, when you're talking about the gym itself, or like if somebody's doing a workout, the idea is to be really intense, but actually be calm about it. So what?
Oh, shit.
Yeah. It's surprising that
And
you
he's
use
never
those two
told me
words.
that before.
Yeah. So basically, what that means is you are putting everything you got into this particular, let's say, couple of reps that you are doing, but at the same time, it does not mean that you have to kill yourself. You're still maintaining a certain sense of calm. So you're not losing your mind there. So it's not the go hard or go home kind of philosophy. It's more you are still giving your best, but at the same time, there is a sense of, okay, I know where my limit is. I'm not going to push beyond that, because I know this is where I need to be at. And if you can take that philosophy not just to, like, let's say doing one rep in the gym, but also to anything else, I think that would be a perfect balance.
Crazy, right? How that came out.
Yeah. I'm surprised you said that.
To someone who's just looked at your profile. That means
Great,
you're doing it right.
I was just saying. That means that, okay, maybe the message is being conveyed in the right way, or at least the way that I want to convey.
Yeah. So before we go into the details, the base of it all is the concept of animal flow. right? The base of this episode, the base of what you're doing is animal flow, right? I mean, am I saying that right? That's what you're teaching. That's the tool.
Yeah, animal flow is one of the things that I teach.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And just to give you like an understanding of what
Sure.
animal flow is, it's essentially a bodyweight movement training discipline, where obviously there is no equipment involved. It's just your body and your relationship to the ground or the flow. And as the name suggests, animal flow obviously it means that you are mimicking certain animal movement patterns, but it's not just that. It's essentially to help you improve the performance of the human animal is what we say. Just the fact that you're getting on all fours, so your palms and your feet have millions of nerve endings, and there's a lot of information that's coming from the flow, from the ground, that is being transferred to the rest of the body. So essentially you're understanding your body better, you're improving your strength and your mobility, you are getting into certain positions which is not possible, or the benefits of this particular training is very hard to replicate in traditional training.
Okay.
So I would say it's more of it kind of bridges the gap between anything else that you're doing. So you could be a runner, you could be a bodybuilder, you could be a CrossFitter, etc. But animal flow kind of helps you fill in those gaps. So if you're somebody who's, let's say, hardcore powerlifter into a lot of strength training, maybe your mobility and flexibility is compromised, animal flow can help you there. Maybe you're a yoga instructor and you're very flexible, but there are certain end range movements where your strength is not there yet. Again, animal flow can help you there. So it kind of bridges the gap, and yeah, I'm fortunate that I came across this about 4 years ago, and yeah, it's been great.
That's what it's been. So I'm not big on understanding the fitness side of things,
Right.
but I've heard of this word being used very often, calisthenics. Is it the same? Is it different?
Well, the similarity is that calisthenics also doesn't really involve weights. So it's essentially stuff that you do with your body weight. But of course, the pull-up bar is one of the commonly used tool in calisthenics. But I would say calisthenics is more strength driven, very it's all about the pull-ups and the muscle ups and push-ups and explosive movements there. Animal flow, I would say, is a little bit more, again, the similarity, as I said, is that it's body weight training, but the difference would be that you're also focusing on mobility in animal flow. There is no pulling aspect, it's mostly ground based, so it's mostly pushing. And I think one of the main differentiating factors, or rather one of the USPs of animal flow, is the mind-muscle connection.
Okay.
So for example, you could be running on a treadmill, watching like a television or whatever, and you can still burn the calories, and you're not really engaged as you would be. But whereas when you're doing animal flow, there is no way that you can actually practice animal flow without really being completely clued in. So there's that mind-muscle connection, which is a big benefit of animal flow. So just that I would say is like the USB for me, at least.
Nice, man. So we can get into more detail about animal flow, your organization, all of this, but I think beyond all this, right, like before rather we go into all this, why fitness, right? Like why is Dev so hell-bent on having this chiseled body, working out every day? Where did it all start, and why did that become like the center of everything for you?
Right.
If you have to go back on your personal journey, like you told me, like in 6th standard, Samrat sir got you the abs, but when does Dev decide that this is his scene?
Right. Of course, fitness started when I was a kid, because as I was mentioning earlier, I was into cricket and I was captaining the team in school and stuff. So sports was always a part of me, and I was into a bunch of other recreationally also. I was always the outdoors kid.
Outdoor guy.
Yeah. So didn't really like to be indoors too much, unless when I was required to attend classes or whatever. So I think it was always a part of me. Then in college is when I got into dancing and kickboxing.
Okay.
So that was more like a part-time thing again, like while I was still studying, and also even during my first job, I was still kind of practicing these two things. And so somewhere down that road when I started, I became a kickboxing instructor in that same
Okay.
organization that I learned. And that was again a part-time job, right? So I realized that I really I enjoyed teaching fitness. Other
Okay.
than the fact that, you know, it was doing great things for my body and my mind, I realized that as I was kind of imparting that knowledge, something clicked. Like, you know, I really enjoyed it. I liked how I could influence people and how I could inspire people and how people's lives were
Through
changing for the
fitness.
better through fitness.
Nice.
And not just physically, but also mentally, you know, I could see how people were changing and becoming better people. So somewhere in the back of my head, I thought, okay, you know what, this could actually be something that I want to do. But of course, back then, I hadn't done anything in fitness in terms of certifications or worked in a gym, etc. So I was still, you know, studying. So there wasn't really a set path as such, and I didn't really think that it would actually be a full-time profession someday. But I think that's where the seed was kind of sown. Yeah.
I mean, you're also an engineer, so
Right.
which shows that it wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was born. It was born eventually.
Yeah.
If not this, you think you'd have done something else?
Very hard to say, because I did work with IBM for a year and a half once
Oh,
I
yeah?
finished once I did my computer science engineering.
How was that bit?
It feels like another universe right now, another world.
Where you didn't belong.
I didn't belong at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I finished engineering, and then of course, you know, just like how it happens in Bangalore, you get placed in a couple of companies, and then I had a couple of choices. I chose IBM. And at that point, I mean, I have zero regrets for having done engineering or even worked in IBM, because I think every single experience kind of helps you somewhere.
Helps you. Yeah.
So, I mean, that was the logical thing to do. So I just wanted to give it a shot, because after having studied for that long, and, you know, I just thought that, you know, I should give this a go. If I don't like it, you know, I can always figure out what I want to do after. So I did that for about a year and a half. Obviously figured out that it's not my scene. It's very funny. Like, my routine in IBM was, I would go there in the morning. As a fresher, there's not much to do, right? So they'll give you a few tasks, and then you have to basically work on some skills, etc. And if there's a little bit of work to do, they'll give that to you. So I would finish that off as quickly as I could. And my day would revolve around that 1.5 hours that I would go to the company gym. There was like a gym
Oh,
there.
shit.
And this is like, what, easy 10 years ago, 2011, I think.
Crazy.
And there was a personal trainer there. I would train under him. And this was like hardcore bodybuilding kind of training.
Okay.
So I would enter the office with like, and everyone's working there, fully glued into the system, and I would walk in there with 20 egg whites. And everyone's looking at me like, who's this weird guy? So I was like a complete outcast there. I would get my work done, but as I said, like, all I would do there was just focus on my fitness, read up few fitness articles, and I realized that slowly I was a year into IBM. I started then looking at vacancies in different gyms, and I started doing my research as to what I should do now, what are the certifications.
The switch started.
So that whole journey started then, and then things fell into place.
Oh man, you know, every episode when we do this, right? Like, one of the common things I've started to see is we all do start somewhere else. Like, before we find what we really want to do, we start somewhere else. And like you also mentioned, right? Maybe that was required.
100%.
And for some, that alternate path is short. For some, it's long.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter. As long as you're searching for the eventual path, the search for what you really love, I think it's fine, right?
Yeah.
But everyone starts out somewhere where you don't belong. Do you agree?
100%. You know, some people could even find exactly what they want to do in the beginning, but it might not work out for them, and where they might feel like, okay, you know, I want to try something else. They'll try that, and then they'll come back.
Yeah.
So somewhere I feel like you have to do things which you don't want to do to appreciate what you really want to do.
There needs to be things that shouldn't work out.
Yeah, that's the best way to learn.
And there is no absolute, right? There is no absolute path. There is no, this is the way to do it. You need to try 10 things to figure it out. No, maybe the first thing you figure it out, and maybe that's your story, right?
Yeah.
Like, there have been people who have figured it out at the age of 10 and 11, saying this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I'm sure there are people who'll figure it out at 40, and that's your truth and that's your story.
Absolutely.
Right? It's as simple as that. So great. That's where fitness has started for you. Now, coming to Academy of Strength, right? The name is amazing.
Thank you.
And I do see that you have a very strong community, who you have coached, who are with you, who are gaining a lot out of you and all of this. What do you think, why are they with you? What are they getting the most out of Academy of Strength?
Or the
No,
members?
like the members. Yeah.
Okay.
The members.
Right.
Why is Academy of Strength working today?
So I always say, I think people come to the Academy of Strength for the vibe. And I really kind of, especially if you're in a service industry, I think it's all about the vibe that you create and the kind of culture that, so the way that we are, me and my co-founder Suhail, the way that we are translates to how our team would be. And how the team would be then translates, that energy transfers to the clients and the members. So I think, besides all of the technical aspect of it and why people come there to get fit, I think one of the main reasons why people come and stay is because of just the friendly vibe and how it's not like a typical gym where it's like, okay, I'm the instructor, you're the client, and I'm going to make you do this many reps, and I'm going to just stand there and watch while you do it. It's a very, I would say, everyone's on a first name basis. No one here is like, okay, this is my coach, I have to be scared of him. It's a very, very friendly vibe. But at the same time, there's that respect. There's that, okay, now if he's telling me to do this, then he has the best, my best interest at heart, and I'm going to listen to him only because I respect him, not because I'm scared of him.
Yeah, so because there is a respect and there is a understanding with both parties that we are here to help each other out. Okay.
Yes. So I think that's one of the main reasons why people
come there. So it's beyond just fitness. It's also about the people involved.
Completely.
Right.
Yes.
So I don't know if you've thought about this, but I've definitely thought about this with any organization or with any idea. When it's at its initial stage or when it's on its project one, and the team heading it is building it on the vibe, right? Now it's your vibe that's selling the most. It's the team's vibe that's selling it the most. But as the organization expands, it usually starts to feel like a corporate. It usually starts to feel like, okay, this is just another place, right? Yeah. It's tough to maintain the vibe you have now. Does that scare you when you want to expand? Have you thought about that?
Sure. It doesn't scare me, but it's definitely on my mind. It's something that for sure I think any organization that is growing needs to really keep in mind. Yeah. And that's exactly why I was talking about building that culture, right? So if you start doing that from day one, and if your employees and if your team understand exactly where you're coming from, and if they are in alignment with that, now tomorrow one of those employees can be heading one of my other gyms, and still be talking the exact same language and the same kind of establishing the same vibe as I would be doing, right? So I think that starts from day one. And it's something that you have to definitely think about even before you can even think about having another gym or multiple gyms. And I think that's the only way forward. Like, you have to really just understand what works for you and what works for the clientele, and then make sure that exactly the same thing is replicated in. That's one of the reasons, in fact, why we haven't expanded too fast.
Right? Don't you think?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a great move then.
Yeah. And it's again come from a learning, because the previous organization that I was a part of, we had about 4 gyms. And I wouldn't say we rushed into it, but at the same time, I'm sure we could have been a little
Stalled
bit
it a little.
Yeah, we could have been a little bit more smarter with how we kind of expanded and made sure exactly what I'm saying, which is making sure that each gym represents the brand. Whereas somewhere down the line, if you expand too fast, or if you kind of jump into certain making certain decisions when you're still not fully ready for it, it's going to show up at some point. And that's a learning, and that's something that we are trying to apply now with AOS.
That's what, it's not about what move you're taking, it's about when you're taking it.
When
right?
and how.
You think it's what move. It's actually when is the move you're taking it. See, what move is not tough to figure out. You look around, you look at other organizations, competitors, and you'll know what is your next step for growth. But when are you really ready to take it? And do you have the resources in place to actually make that happen.
And is the market ready for it? So that
Is-
also decides when.
Where did all this, like for me, of course, I have a few mentors in my life which got me that business sense. So instead of thinking of independent income, to think of business income. These are definitely two different things. What changed it for Dev? Where did Dev become business minded?
To be very honest, I'm still not business minded.
First of all, business minded in our terms sounds very negative.
Right.
Right? Because I don't know, I think it's just our lingo where we say like business minded is negative.
Sure.
Right? Business minded is thinking like from an entrepreneur point of view.
Yeah.
With your example, I would say instead of training 20 people, how do I train 20,000 people? Yeah, that shift is who helped you get that shift?
Sure. I think it happened gradually. I mean, I didn't. It's funny. Like when I remember my partner at the Academy of Strength, Suhail, when we basically, he's a Germanite too.
Oh, crazy. What's his name?
Mohammad Suhail.
Suhail is which batch?
My batch. So 2005.
Suhail, I think I've heard of because of someone else. Anyway.
So
sorry.
so he, we've known each other from the second standard, right? So when we were like 6 or 7 years old, and I remember, and he was also in the cricket team. So we would finish our cricket matches, and then we would walk back, like from Palace Grounds, maybe like you know back home, which is Benson Town. Pretty long walk with all the kit and everything, and we would sometimes cycle or we would walk back, whatever. And I remember we still, this conversation is still very, very, fresh for both of us. Is where we would talk about, eventually someday we're going to have our own business. Right? And this is literally 25 years ago.
Bro, this is beautiful.
Yeah. So...
and he's the co-founder, right?
He's the co-founder of my,
Oh,
of my gym.
man.
Yeah. So
this is amazing.
Sometimes there's some seed or some thought that you leave out there, and then if you really want it to happen, it does. So that was probably the only conversation that I had where I would say I wanted to run my own business. But otherwise, I didn't really think about it, to be honest. When I got into fitness, also it was just pure passion. It was something that I really loved, and I liked teaching, as I was saying before. So it just evolved out of that. And then once I started to see that, people are actually interested in this, and there is a dearth in the Indian market for quality training and nutrition and, this kind of stuff, I realized that, maybe it's time to have my own organization and start my own business. So I would say it was just like a step-by-step process, and it didn't just be like, I woke up one day and I'm like, I want to be a businessman. How do I get around to do it? But I think kind of figured it out on the way. I'm still figuring it out. I'm not the most business savvy person, to be very honest, but it's something that I'm learning, and fortunately I've had good friends and mentors on the way who I can always approach and get help from.
Okay, that's great. So we were talking about your whole shift into, and you said you're not the most business savvy person, and I said, it's just the beginning. Let's, talk about this persona of yours. Right now, even for your personal life or professional life, I think what's working for you is your calmness, is you being very aware of everything around you and not just having intuitions about what to do next. It's also about taking steps very carefully, and you've pretty much addressed that with the Academy of Strength as well, that you are taking it slow, which doesn't come to everyone. While this is happening, there are all these tattoos on your body, which for a general, for the average person, maybe the tattoo is stereotypically seen as aggression, is stereotypically seen as lot of expression, right? Because not everyone has a tattoo.
Yeah.
So what is this side of Dev, where, Dev has these tattoos and there's a lot of intensity? Where is all this coming from? Where is all this energy coming from? Is it just the need to be yourself, or is there a certain, do you want to prove something to someone?
Actually, I haven't thought about it that deeply. So good question. I think part of getting inked was I think there are multiple reasons, but I think one of them was I was always, at least back in school, I was very interested in like sketching and drawing, and so something that looks good aesthetically always kind of interested me.
Okay.
So of course I never took that up very seriously, and I wish I would have, and that's something that I even think of now, saying I want to go for like a painting class. It'll be fun. So I think like like a tattoo that looks good, I think was very, very attractive for me. Just like some good design on a body. It's almost like a painting on a canvas.
Yeah.
So that's the aesthetic aspect of it. But otherwise, if you, I have just 3 tattoos. I don't have too many, but the ones that I have,
but they're pretty big.
So the ones that I have, if I actually, it's all in some way things that I've got which I know would be permanent. Like I'm not somebody who would.
So you have 3. One is on your chest.
Yeah, one's on my chest. One's on the upper back. And then there's one on my tricep.
Yeah, and when I please display these pictures at this point so that we know what we're talking about.
So this one's a mandala.
Okay.
So a mandala is basically like a you would have seen those circular tattoos, but essentially it represents a cycle or a certain number of days depending on what you're doing. So for example, like the one of the meditation practices or the kriyas that I practice is called Shambhavi Mahamudra, and that one every one of these practices has a certain amount of time that you need to do it to then be able to then continue that practice. So let's say for example 48 days. So that would be a mandala. One of the ways to explain what a mandala means, and this one does not represent that particular meditation practice, but essentially it is a mandala, and then if you kind of see, it has like the moon phases on it, etc. So that again, symmetrically it looks great. So that's one of the tattoos. This one's an Om tattoo, of course.
Well, how come? How did that happen?
So this happened in China.
Oh.
And and this guy was an amazing tattoo artist. Like so basically I was in China for like a month and a half, and went there just for this is during my phase of travel. So the idea was to just have this nomadic journey where I would travel and just like learn fitness and like meet different kind of people and kind of a phase of growth. And so the reason why I went to China was to learn Kung Fu.
And nice.
Kung Fu was something that I was super intrigued by right from, I'm sure all of us have been like through watching Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon and these kind of movies, and this is something that I really wanted to do. So while we were there learning Kung Fu, we went to this city called Xian. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Xian. And so we randomly went into this tattoo parlor because some of the other, some of my other friends who were in the Kung Fu school also wanted to get tattoos. So I walked in there just thinking I'm just going to check the place out and these guys are going to get it.
Have you changed this? I mean,
the time roll.
Sorry, man.
No worries. So I walked in just thinking, okay, you know what, I'm going to check out the place and let's see what these guys are going to get. And just I saw the work and I'm like, oh shit, I think I want a tattoo too.
You want it?
And this was my second tattoo. I got this one first. I'll tell you about this in a bit, but this was the second one.
But why did you decide the Om sign?
So I went, again, because meditation practice and Om chanting, etc. is a part of me. So it wasn't like, okay, this just looks cool and I'm going to get it. But I felt like this is a part of me. And if you look at this tattoo, it's not just the Om, but there's actually Buddha's face there.
Sweet.
It's very subtle. And because I was in China, that connection was something that I wanted to kind of establish. And surprising thing is, he finished this within an hour. It's a pretty
and it's very well made.
He was really, really quick, and I thought like, how the hell is he finishing it so fast? And then I actually had to look at it and it looked perfect. So I was very happy with what that tattoo
But
was.
impulsive decision, is it?
Super impulsive. I think this was the only one that I thought about because it was my first tattoo, but these two were very impulsive. This one, in fact, is a bamboo tattoo. So it's not the machine tattoo. So it's like a hand poke tattoo, which I got in Thailand. And so basically,
it sounds very painful. I don't know what.
Actually, in the beginning, it's less painful than the machine because the machine drills deeper in. much faster. But the thing with this is, imagine it's the same size tattoo. This took an hour. Guess how long this took?
What, 1.5, 2 hours?
8 hours. So after about 4 or 5 hours, I think 6 hours, the first sitting, I was done. I'm like, boss, I can't do this
Tired.
anymore. I'm going to come back tomorrow. Like, and he's like, no, just 2 more hours. Let me finish. I'm like, no, I'm done. Because
I'm
what
not-
happens is after a point,
Okay.
he starts poking in the same areas, right? Because he's shading and then it gets painful. But in the beginning, you don't feel anything. It's just like a small pinprick. So then I had to go back the next day, finish 2 hours.
Oh, you went home?
Yeah. Went home. I'm like, boss, I'm
I
done
can't do
here.
this.
I've sat here for 6 hours. I'm going to come back tomorrow.
Okay.
Then he did a follow-up for 2 hours. That took 8 hours.
Mhm.
This one basically...
What does it say?
It says Sadak.
Sadak.
Sadak means
In Hindi
seeker.
only it's written.
Yeah, like it's Sanskrit. It's
Okay.
same script, right? The
Okay.
Devanagari script. So the Hindi script is the same. Means seeker. So...
Ooh.
So if you see, all the tattoos are very, I would say.
What is
have
Dev
have
seeking for?
spiritual- So many things.
Like?
From, I think, if I have to go a little bit deeper, I think, so Satguru has been a very, very big influence in my life.
Lovely, man.
Yeah.
I think
And,
he's articulated things well, right?
spirituality the best way.
Yeah, it's like what he says has been present for the longest time. But the beauty of the man is he's articulated it for us,
Absolutely.
for today,
Yeah.
in the terms we understand
Yeah.
it, and that's what makes him who he is.
What he's been saying has been there from time immemorial, right?
yeah.
It's just that
He's putting it in the right
he
intensities also.
understands, Yeah.
Do you realize
he
he's
understands
not-
who he's talking to.
He's not hitting you with everything. He's hitting you with what you need to be hit with.
And what you can understand
Yeah.
where you are.
Yeah.
So I think he played a big role, and I've been to the Isha ashram as well, and I
Oh,
volunteered
beautiful.
there for like a few days, and I
Mhm.
think that really changed a lot of things in my life. That's actually the day that I turned vegetarian as well. So I've been a hardcore meat eater for like 30 years, and then about 2.5, almost 3 years ago when I went there is when I, something triggered, and then I haven't eaten meat since then. So when I say seeker, I think a lot of things, but just basically, I would say trying to understand what this whole life is about. But not in the sense that, okay, I need to leave everything that I'm doing right now, go to the mountains, sit and meditate and try to figure it out. But maybe eventually I'll do that. I don't know. Maybe when I'm 60 years old,
You never know.
I'll probably, I keep saying this to my friends, and my parents also freak out when I say this. They think I'll take off like today or tomorrow. But I think, I'm happy living the life that I'm living right now, the material life. But I know that this is not it.
It's short lasting.
It's something that is keeping me going right now, and I know my I don't know, the end game is something else.
So when me and my friends usually sit here and have a drink and we get into all these intense topics.
What drink? Why are we not having a drink?
Do you drink?
Coffee. No.
Oh.
I do drink
Okay,
socially,
but
yes, I do.
okay. Glad. Okay, that's another topic. Anyway, so the one thing that the sentence I've been using a lot for what you just said, right? I feel like there are basically two journeys, bro. One is the external, one is the internal, right?
Sure.
And both are very different. The external journey is what you spoke about, the material life. Everything we can see, everything we can acquire, everything we can feel and touch and experience. The internal journey is what you're talking about. And if you look at, if you follow your gurus and people who preach, all of them, they are speaking about the internal journey, right? So basically, to have the internal journey, you need to pause on the external journey. Right? Only if you pause whatever you're doing here is when you'll get the time to visit internally. Does that make sense?
To an extent, yes.
Okay.
So I think it really depends on the path that you take. For some people, as you said, they have to really pause what they're doing and only focus on that. Okay. And probably for them, the growth will be faster because now all their focus is on the internal journey. But I think, what some of us are doing living here and not, let's say, retreating to the mountains,
Okay.
is that for us it's a bigger challenge because we are trying to still go through that internal journey while
But
still living
staying
this
here.
life. Yeah, and that's not easy to do. But I think if you can do that, then there's nothing more challenging than that. And if you can achieve that, that's the great balance that.
Do you think that Academy of Strength is your meditation in a way? And I'll tell you why I asked this. So we had this other girl, Shruti. So she has a company called Yoga Tribe. Okay. The Yoga Tribe. And we also spoke briefly about this, where we said that when you're doing what you really love, that is another form of meditation. Which I'm trying to connect with what you said. So if we are staying here in this material world and doing what we love, it is in a way, the internal path as well, right? I mean, I hope my words are not going like crazy above.
No, see.
But it is meditation when you're doing what you love.
Sure. See, one of the other meanings of a sadhak, or like is somebody who does sadhana. Right? And sadhana could be anything. So if you're, let's say, completely into your work, as you said, that is a form of yoga or like sadhana that you're doing, because you are pretty much dedicating everything and all your resources and everything is being put into one channel. And if you're really into it, that is a form of yoga. Right? It's just that now yoga is perceived as, I need to do a back bend and I need to do this and headstand and handstand and all of that. And of course, that is one aspect of yoga. It's a very physical aspect of yoga, but yoga is a lot more than that. So yeah, I think I agree. Like if you're for me, like personally, like if you also look at Academy of Strength and you also look at Sweaty Ninjas, which is the other company that I run with another partner, Shweta. Fortunately, I have partners like Suhail and Shweta who think like me and who are we are very, very like-minded. And we also have our own, individual spiritual journeys that we're going through. So you'll see that being reflected in how we run the company and how, the messaging and everything, because that's how it works, right? So if you are a particular type and if you are the head of the organization, then obviously the organization is going to have certain elements of you in a good way. So the way that we teach even in Sweaty Ninjas is very, very holistic. It's not, join us for 6 weeks and we are going to help you get a six-pack. But it's more about, you're coming here for these 6 weeks. We're not going to give you a crash diet which is going to make you lose 10 kgs because what's going to happen after 6 weeks? You're going to go back and you're going to probably put on more weight. We're going to teach you what you need to do for your body type. We're going to teach you different ways of training. We're going to give you the tips and tricks to eating so that once you finish these 6 weeks, you are independent and you know what you need to do. You understand what works for your body type, and then these are your goals. Then this is what you should be doing. So, so it's almost like a course where we're putting people through. And that only happens when you think holistically. If you're thinking short term and if you're thinking...
You'll teach that
and you'll hold back some information thinking, okay, I want this guy to come back to me, so I'm going to only teach him this much. And that is not how we think. It's more, you have to... I really believe that if you actually put yourself out there and you give as much information as you can and you actually want to make a difference in somebody's life, it's all going to come back. So you don't do it with that intention. You don't think...
But it does.
But it does. It absolutely does.
And it's nature.
Yeah.
Dude,
what goes around comes around.
I'm telling you, especially last 6 months, I'm experiencing this so much, okay? Like, subconsciously, I would have helped some people. Like, without even... It's more like, okay, on the way, I would have helped them. And then somewhere in the near future, I get back something and I start to think, why am I receiving this from this person? And then it clicks, saying, okay, dude, do you remember how you contributed to his or her life?
And if you think about it, you would have done it without expectation.
Without expectation.
That's when it comes
And that's where it works. And that's where it works the most. So maybe then the trait is, wherever you can help.
Yeah.
Wherever, because usually it costs you nothing. Wherever you can help actually costs you nothing, if you think about it. That is where for you it is the easiest to help out. But for that person it may mean the world. right? Just bringing you back. So you said you visited the Isha Foundation. How was that, man? Like, in fact, this is crazy. Like, this is episode within an episode because I thought I'll make one episode only about that with someone who has visited it.
Oh, okay.
But maybe we'll do that with you another day. But just a glimpse of what
give you an idea, yeah. So, just like all of us, I think most of us, if we have come across Satguru, is through YouTube videos, right?
Yeah, of course.
So, saw those videos, I was like, my mind was blown. And I'm like, wow, I really need to, get at least a little bit of what he's experiencing and the things that he's talking about. And this is back in the day, maybe like 5 years, a little probably before that, is I did the inner engineering course.
Inner engineering.
This was in Bangalore. So it was like a week-long course and I think 3 hours.
How much do you rate the course out of 10? If you had to rate it.
Back then, I would have rated it maybe 6.
Okay.
Because I was not fully convinced.
Okay.
And I was a skeptic.
Yeah.
And
I'm
I
there.
Through that.
I'm there today.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Because you need to go through that journey.
Yeah.
When I watched those videos and then when I saw some of these guys who are really into it, and I'm like, why are they being so like submissive and like the bhakts, as you call them, or devotees, etc. And I didn't get it at all. And I'm somebody who's very logical and analytical in the way I think, or whatever I was at least. And did it with another friend, did the course, didn't even finish that mandala, by the way. I was telling you about the mandala, right? You're supposed to practice twice a day for at least 38 to 40 days or something. One of those numbers. Didn't even complete that, and then just kind of the practice fell apart. But I continued to watch his videos, etc. And it was constant inspiration. But until you actually put things in practice, it's just words, right? It's just inspiration videos, which you'll be inspired for 2 days. And then what happens after that?
Not even 2 days, I feel.
So at some point, I connected back and I'm thinking I should practice. And I also did the 21-day yoga course, which they had again in Bangalore. And that really helped me also, the yoga practice. And at one point I decided, okay, you know what, I'm just going to go and volunteer for the same course that I did, but in the ashram. So it was like a 4-day in engineering program where anybody can go volunteer and help out and stuff. Went there and there were about 20 other volunteers, and it was a very funny thing that happened.
Okay.
So the first day, the course hasn't started yet, and everyone's just coming in, and the lunch, whatever is served and all that, and I served my plate and sat there and I'm eating, and then one of the Swamijis come, like the ones who are there, the brahmacharis. One of them was leading the rest of the volunteers.
Okay.
He comes and sweetly sits there and he's like, so we eat in the end. So the people who have come for the course eat first. I'm
shit.
Like, so embarrassing. I'm like, so sorry, I didn't know. He's like, no problem, just letting you know. That was my first. I'm like,
more like a kind gesture.
Yeah.
But you ended up
that was
sitting and eating.
Me, I'm like, oh shit. And then I look, because how it works is, it's not like as soon as you go there you get all your instructions.
Okay.
Slowly things fall into place there, right? So I had no clue, so whatever, this happened. And then after that, the next 4 days I saw, like on the first day, I felt completely out of place because everyone's super into it. They were practicing, as I said, Shambhavi twice a day. They were doing Isha yoga and all of that. And I'm just there having not practiced for like, I don't know, a couple of years. And I'm just there for the experience. But I was open-minded. Like I didn't have any qualms about it. And I saw that every day there was a certain change that was happening in me. Like on the first day, as I said, I was more like a little bit held back and thinking, am I in the right place? Is this for me? But the vibe of that place also is amazing, by the way. The minute you enter there, you're just that sense of calmness.
It comes through.
And everybody's energy is just to another level where you're just like, wow, this is great.
This is heaven.
And I've been to a couple of other ashrams also, and I've felt similar vibe. And so, yeah, I saw like on the second and the third day when you start to do things which you thought you would never do. Like, like let's say arranging people's slippers in a line.
Okay.
Like, where would you do that otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Voluntarily. And day on day, there was, you could see the participants also looking at you saying, why are these people working so hard for us? Like, they're not getting anything out of it. And then on the fourth day, which is the last day, when we actually served food for them, and basically we're waking up at like 3 a.m. in the morning, finishing our meditation practice, working through the day, from everything from cutting vegetables to arranging seeds to making everything comfortable for these people. And on the fourth day, for some reason when they come out, they've already had a pretty intense experience, of course, through the
Yeah.
course, and then they come out and they just, all the food is laid out, and all of them had tears in their eyes, all right, and looking at all the volunteers saying, and we could sense it, and it was like, why are these people doing so much for us? Like, who are we? Like, we don't even know them. And I'm not somebody who like tears up that easy, and I just found myself like really overwhelmed. And that was
looking
there
at
was
them,
looking at them, saying, wow, like I've just come here with zero expectations, and then we've just been working non-stop for 4 days, and at no point have I felt like, why am I doing this? It just felt very natural. And then when you see that change happening in somebody else, and you played a part in it, somewhere it just really overwhelms you, and you're like, wow,
this is nice.
This is service, where you are doing something without expectation, and then you're seeing somebody transform in a good way. And then I came back, I think a pretty different person. I completed my mandala once I came back, and since then my practice has been like bang on.
Crazy.
I start my day every day in the morning with that practice, and I know what a difference it makes on the days that I don't practice, and the days that I practice. How my day goes and how I deal with situations is completely different. And that's the day I also quit meat. So
what
something must have changed.
What do they tell you about quitting meat?
Nothing, in fact. They don't ask you to quit anything. They just educate you. They just tell you how what meat does, and what a vegetarian does, and what sattvic food does, what is pranic food, etc., and how that can assist you in your spiritual growth, etc. So for me, like, I always had thoughts about quitting meat. As I was saying, like, hardcore meat eater. Like, I needed meat 3 times a day.
Yeah.
For 30 years. So there were multiple reasons why I wanted to quit meat. One was this whole compulsion. So I'm not somebody who's compulsive about anything. Like, I'm not compulsive about drinks or smoking or coffee or whatever. I can drink when I need to.
Has that always been?
Always.
Okay.
It's always been me. Like, even with food, like I don't overeat. But meat was one thing which I needed. I would get irritated with my mom, like, if there was no meat on my plate, right? So I wanted to cut that compulsion off. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to give up. Secondly, to better my meditation and yoga practice. Vegetarian diet suits somebody who's in the spiritual journey, and it also helps you get more flexible, bunch of things.
Is it for everyone?
It depends. I wouldn't give a blanket statement saying... No, not at all. No, I still wouldn't. Like, if, in fact, all our clients there are vegans, there are vegetarians, there are non-vegetarians. So it really depends on your goals and what you want to achieve. Like, if somebody is coming in with some serious strength goals, and if they are meat eaters, I won't ask them to go off meat.
But on the spiritual path, say we both are on the spiritual path, do you think we can walk side by side with you eating vegetarian and me eating non-vegetarian food?
It's like this, okay? In fact, the first time that I did the inner engineering course 5 or 6 years back, I went and spoke to the instructor, and I said, I don't think I can ever quit meat. Can I still do it? She's like, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to say that just because you're eating meat, you can't do this practice. But it's like saying person 1 and 2 are training equally hard, but person one is getting more out of it. Person 1 is probably getting a little bit more protein, and this person is not. So then you weigh the odds and say, okay, this person is slightly in a better position to reach those goals. So your answer to your question would be, let's say if 2 people are on their spiritual journey, and if one person is following a proper sattvic diet, he probably has a slight advantage, because essentially you are what you eat, right? So there are certain processes that are happening in your system depending on what goes into your system. So if you are trying to practice something, and if your nutrition is going to assist that, then obviously you're going to be in a slightly better position. Having said that, you don't never let anybody else convince you to quit meat. That's what I always say. Like,
let it happen.
Yeah, it'll happen. It's a calling. Like, when you really feel like it needs to happen, you're yourself. Because I did quit meat once before, and I knew I was not going to do it for long. I just wanted to experiment. But this time when I quit meat, it felt like, that's it. Now I don't feel like eating meat anymore. And just throw that away.
What time do you wake up now? And is it a constant practice?
Yeah, I wake up early. How early depends on what I do.
Okay.
So if it's just my meditation practice, then I can still wake up at 6 and get things done. But if I'm doing my yoga practice as well, that takes almost 2 hours. So 4:35 if I have to really get that practice going. And then I usually train in the gym second half of the day or in the afternoon.
You think on this spiritual path that we touched upon so often, do you think being single is better for a spiritual path, or do you think it is better to have a partner, or do you think you should have multiple partners? What is
To be, I like that option.
He said, I like the third option, if you didn't hear it.
So, again, going back to that same analogy of if you are somebody, see, essentially, initially, I would say, it's better to not have that many attachments.
Okay.
The lesser attachments you have,
The better.
the better, because the lesser things you have to worry about,
More
right?
mind space.
Yeah. So if you have to really focus on something, just like how, if I'm getting somebody to focus on their fitness, then it would be easier for me to get somebody to focus on fitness if he has less bad habits, right? As
Yeah.
opposed to somebody who, let's say, is an alcoholic. For me, my first step would be to get him to reduce the amount of alcohol that he's consuming. Even before I can tell him, okay, let's work on the push-up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
yeah.
same way, if I have multiple sexual relationships, for example, all of my thinking, my mindset, my lifestyle is going to revolve around that. But if my focus is on spiritual journey, then obviously something else has to take a backseat for this to be in the foreground. So I would say, yes, if somebody does not have a partner, he or she definitely has an advantage in the sense that he or she can focus completely on that. But I also, going back to what we were discussing earlier, is that I think it would be, I at least take it up more as a challenge as to still go through my spiritual journey while still being in this real world, or let's not call it real world, but in
practical.
this, yeah. So I don't think it should stop anybody from having a family or having a wife or having kids, etc. But I think it's important for the family also to support that person's spiritual journey. Like if I, for example, am going to date somebody, then I would want that person to understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
And not be a hindrance to my spiritual journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would probably make that clear on day one.
So what's your scene right now?
I'm single.
And so if you're single, are you are you okay with this life, or are you saying maybe you need a partner? Or are you saying...
You know how it is, right? For most people, the grass is always greener on the other
Yeah.
side. So when you're single, you want a girlfriend. When you have a girlfriend, you want to
Yeah.
be single. But having said that, I definitely would want a partner, but what I said earlier, which is if it makes
Only
sense.
if it makes sense.
Yeah, and again, not being selfish about it. At the same time, let's say if my future girlfriend has certain set of goals or whatever, I would want to be that person who would support her through that.
Okay.
But at the same time, I would expect the same. That's the only way
And
I
you
think
don't
a
mind
relationship
marriage?
works. The way you asked it, the mind marriage.
Yeah, because you know why I asked you? Because dude, that is the big question, man. Like, I think today we better question it. It's that's why I didn't ask you when are you getting married.
Sure.
That's why I asked you, do you mind marriage?
Yeah.
Because we are asking that question today.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's actually a valid question.
Yeah.
In the times that we live. Back in the day, it was
When are you
the
getting
way to
married?
go. Yeah. It was the way to go, and fair enough. And that time it worked. Now, personally, I feel like I'm not opposed to the idea of marriage, but at the same time, marriage for me is not something that has to happen at a certain time or with a certain person. Marriage has to happen naturally for me. So if, let's say, I am with somebody, and if both of us are in the right place and if we are getting married for the right reasons, then yes. But if it's like, okay, her mother is freaking out right now and she thinks she's getting old, or my dad is like, right now you figured out everything in your career, what are you waiting for? Or let's say somebody wants a grandkid or whatever. Those are reasons which I will not get married to for sure. So,
Does your dad do that?
I would say 2, 3, 4 years back, maybe my folks would bring it up once in a
Okay.
while, saying like, when are you getting married and stuff. But now they've given up. Now they've just
They're
left
like-
it. Yeah. And I've told them also, like for me
Mm.
right now, career and certain things that I want to focus on is priority.
Mm.
And we are living in a world right now where it doesn't matter how old you are. You can get married when you're 50 years old. How does it
Mm.
matter, right? So,
Mhm.
so I've just told them that, yeah, it'll happen when it has to happen. I wouldn't want to force it, and you also wouldn't want to be in a position where your
Where-
son is forced into marriage, right?
Yeah.
Because we've seen what happens. We've
Yeah.
seen now everyone's independent, and if two people are not equally aligned in the way that they think and
Goes wrong.
it doesn't
just
work
doesn't
out.
click.
And
I think that realization has come through that it's not for everyone.
yeah,
And it doesn't need to be forced at the same time for everyone. 28, 30, 31, 27, all these numbers that we had doesn't make
don't matter.
sense anymore.
Yeah.
What's the big dream with everything they wants to do in terms of Academy of Strength?
Well, with the Academy of Strength, if you had asked me like a few years back, I would say like, have gyms all over the world. While I would still say part of me still wants that, but I would only do it if I can expand in the right way. It's not about just having multiple gyms and then, making it like on a corporate scene where the essence of Academy of Strength is lost. I would still be okay with opening maybe one gym in a year and going in that slow pace, but still making sure that whatever we do in the gyms that we have, we are still kind of sticking true to the essence of what we've always wanted to teach. Same with Sweaty Ninjas. Right now we're working on an app. So Sweaty Ninjas is basically an online training company. Right now everything is through emails and WhatsApp, but now we're working on an app, and the idea is eventually to kind of build this into an app which is accessible to obviously anybody and everybody, and make fitness more approachable and
Accessible.
essentially accessible. And as I was saying, like the mindset behind it is to make it more holistic and not so much the run of the mill lose weight, put on weight, get fit, six pack. That should be a side effect
of that.
Yeah.
Money wise, do you think, what do you feel like when you look at your own life? Do you think you're doing well, or you're not at where you wish you would be?
To be honest, like if I compare myself to where I was to where I'm now, I think there's been exponential growth for sure, financially also.
But
am I where I want to be?
Yeah, that's the question.
I don't know if I have a number in mind saying, okay, this is like if I want to be.
But do you wish you had more?
I think I'm happy where I am right now in terms of, like, if you ask me, do I need more money right now? No. Like how much I have right now and what I'm doing with those resources, I'm happy.
Okay.
But do I want to stop here? No.
Okay.
Yeah. So I definitely see myself growing, and money is not, I would say, the primary driving factor, but I know that having a certain amount of money helps with everything else that I want to do, right? So it can definitely help. Money as well as your the reach that you have through social media or whatever other channels. These are things which shouldn't be, at least for me, like I don't want to preach about it, but at least for me, I don't think that should be the driving force. But you should definitely have these things, and these things should constantly grow, because then that allows you to do all of the other things that you want to do. Yeah, like if I have to put my message out there, and if I want my business also to kind of speak the same language, the only way that I can do it is if I have the resources in terms of the money and as well as the reach. Why is somebody going to listen to me, or how will I reach somebody in, let's say, in New York? It's only if I have that reach. Yeah. So I would say fame and money shouldn't be the driving factors, but it'll definitely help whatever else that you want to achieve.
In your social circles, are you like highly respected now because of whatever you've built? Like, of course, like if you look at Academy of Strength,
sure,
it's not a small community. It's a pretty big community, and I'm sure your social circles have felt that. So has the respect increased?
I would say yes.
And does that feel good?
It feels great. It feels great. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been in the industry for about 10, 11 years now. 2011 is when I made the
Amazing.
move.
Hmm.
And other than, of course, the two businesses that I run, I'm also a master instructor for Animal Flow and a master trainer for another organization called IFA, International Fitness and Aerobics Academy. So I've been conducting certifications and training the trainers for a while now.
Okay.
And pan-India.
Nice.
Also got the opportunity to do it in some other countries as well,
Yeah.
but mostly India.
Hmm.
So my reach, at least in the fitness space, is pretty good in the sense that, you know, I've met a lot of trainers in different parts of the country.
Nice.
And it's only when you're in that place is when you realize how much of an impact you've made.
Mm.
Because, you know, when people come back to you and saying like, you know, I attended your course and now I'm you
Yeah.
know, making this much money, or I'm working in this gym, etc. So that feels great. Where, you know, people come back to me and say, okay, you know, we met here, and
Yeah.
you know, I really wish I could remember everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, I don't,
tend to
because
forget.
you know, I've trained
Met
like
so many.
hundreds and thousands of people.
Mm.
But I'm good with faces though, so I'll remember the face, but I won't remember the name. And so that's always an interesting conversation. And then, of course, when you start
That's
doing
a very
well,
famous person line, Dev, that you just said.
No, but it's very, very honest.
I remember the face, but I don't remember the name.
but I'm not just saying
It's
it.
every
that's me.
famous person's
No.
line.
I'm actually
And you
very
said
good
it
with
so
faces.
organically.
Actually, I'm very good with remembering
Okay.
faces. Yeah. So I think, and then other than the fitness industry, even generally, like, you know, people around you and people who you've grown up with, like, say, for example, you know, we went to the same school.
Yeah.
It's always nice to meet, you know, people who you knew 20, 25 years ago and see the journey that they've gone through, whatever that journey might be. And it's always nice to, you know, talk about it. And fortunately, you know, people have good things to say about me, so I'm happy.
Great, Dev. I mean, like I said, right, like I wanted to make another episode on so many topics that we touched upon. But this was great. Thank you for coming here.
Awesome.
I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time, and the fact that we connected, probably, you know, we would
Yeah.
have seen each other in school uniform at some point. But
True.
it was
I mean, he was the school captain. I was in 5th standard when he was the school captain. So chances are I've even like seen you hoist the flag couple of times, and I just don't remember it. But I think one thing I'll say is, you know, I want to be in touch with you.
100%.
I think I found a new friend today in you,
that's
because in like so many things that you spoke, right? My mind is going fuck. Like, you're just nailing it right there, and the thoughts, it matches so well that I'm glad we did this.
Amazing.
And you know, that's the beauty of energy, man. Like, I have no idea about you, right? It goes with the flow. It happens.
Yeah.
Things fall in place, and that's the beauty of doing what you love. It takes you to the right places, according to me. So all the best with everything that you want to do. I wonder what are the next tattoos you're going to get. I wonder who are the next celebrities you're going to train. And one thing's for sure, that we'll have a part 2 with you. This is part 1.
Yeah, I for sure think we're going to meet again.
Yeah, we're going to meet again outside for sure, but here even more sure that we'll do more
Awesome.
episodes. All the best for your journey, man. Like, I think it's just your beginning. There's a lot more coming with Academy of Strength, Sweaty Ninjas, your spiritual journey. Maybe there'll come this time where actually people won't know where you are and you've just gone off, and I'll be like, the time has come.
But yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I had a great time, and
Nice.
just the little things that I got to know about you guys and the podcast that you're running, and again the
Network.
the networking and the basically how you're talking about how this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
It's very similar to the way that I think. So it was awesome connecting, and I'm sure we're gonna connect again and talk about a lot more things. And then really all the best for everything that you've planned, man. Awesome.
Thanks, Dev. You've added to this. You've added energy to this space. Thank you so much. And I always tell this to my guests, that the next guest who comes in will feel it. Like, the reason we were able to strike a conversation so well is because I feel all the people who came here have already added
100%. Yeah.
some type of energy here that could, facilitate a conversation like this. That's what I feel. So anyway, I think things went a little too deep on this episode, but I hope you enjoyed. This was episode 25 with Devrath Vijay. Thank you guys.